So you're hoping to get a visa to travel to the United States. Maybe you're planning a trip, maybe you're hoping to study here, or maybe you're hoping to work here. How important is previous travel to qualifying for that visa? Hi, I'm Travis. I'm a former visa officer and licensed U.S. immigration attorney. I spent almost 7 years as a career diplomat with the U.S. State Department, and during that time, I interviewed over 80,000 visa applicants from all over the world. Today, I want to talk briefly about prior travel, why it might be important to your case, and why it might just help you qualify for your next visa. So, first, tourist visas, student visas, and most work visas qualify you to enter the country temporarily. That means that you can come here for your purpose, and then you're going to return to your home country. Now, these visas are almost all subject to 214B. I'll link to a video that explains 214B below, but in a nutshell, 214B means that you as a visa applicant have to prove to the visa officer that you're going to come to the United States for a temporary duration, and then you're going to return back to your home abroad. And one great way to prove that you're going to qualify with your visa class and that you're going to return home is to show a history of prior travel. And think about it. What better way to show that you're not going to enter the United States and remain here than by showing that you've traveled before and you've always returned home? So let's break it down a little bit. First and foremost, if you have been to the United States before, that is the king of all prior travel. Because again, what better way to prove that you're not going to abuse your visa and stay here forever than by showing that, hey, you've been to the United States before and you've gone back home afterwards. But if you haven't been to the United States, don't worry. There's other travel that might be a benefit to your case as well. So secondarily to the United States, if you've traveled to a country that requires a visa, that could also be very helpful. So let's say you're a citizen of Thailand and you've traveled to the European Union before, one of the countries there that may have required you to obtain a visa before your travel. What that will show a visa officer is that you've gone through a visa process, even though it's for a different country, but also that you've qualified for a visa, that you've taken a trip, and that you've returned home. So again, it's all about establishing a pattern of prior travel that lends itself to show that you're really going to return home after a short stay. But let's say you've never traveled to the United States, you've never traveled to a country that requires a visa, maybe you've never traveled outside of your home country before. Now, there's still a potential if you have at least traveled, you've left your hometown for maybe a trip, maybe business meetings, or maybe you've studied somewhere else. This is still potentially useful because, again, you can still establish a pattern of trips and show that you've always gone back home because of whatever is pulling you back, your job, your school, your family, etc. And so, how do you prove to the visa officer that you have indeed traveled before? Well, first, a great way to show prior travel is to show previous visas in your passport, along with stamps that show when you entered and exited different countries. Now, a lot of applicants will have this proof in a previous passport, maybe a passport that's already expired. Your new passport is completely empty of any visas and any stamps. That's totally understandable, happens all the time. But what we always recommend is that you bring an old passport with you to your interview so that you can show the visa officer that track record, that history of prior trips. Now, one thing I also recommend, because as we've talked about before, and I'll link to this video below as well, visa officers don't like to look at simple documents. They don't like to base their decisions on documents because documents can be falsified. So one really, really good piece of advice that we give a lot of our clients is to bring photographs from your prior travel to your interview. So think about the photos, the prior passports with stamps and visas in them, anything that you can bring and show that visa officer to establish that you've been outside of your home country, or at least that you've traveled before, even if it was only in your home country. And remember, Prior travel is by no means a requirement to qualify for a U.S. visa. It's simply one of those things that can help you. Now, of course, every situation is different. Your situation is going to be totally different from everybody else that tries to apply for the same visa. And that's where ZF Visa and Immigration comes in. We are here to help you prepare for your interview. So reach out to us. Send us an email at info@zfvisa or visit our website at zfvisa.com and book a consultation with one of our former Visa Officer and U.S. immigration attorneys. We'll work to understand your unique circumstances, including prior travel, prior issues you may have had, and we'll work together to form a strategic plan to help you put your best foot forward and hopefully get a positive outcome at your next interview. So good luck and safe travels.